Alrighty everyone, so it is now July 9th of 2023. We're just a couple of days out from Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning Part 1 from releasing in theaters, which really is going to pause the entire box office situation for Indiana Jones 5, The Dial of Destiny, something by the way that Bob Iger, the board, Kathleen Kennedy have been endlessly panicking over and exactly where that's going. Now, we also know on top of this that there's been a lot of emergency meetings taking place over at Disney in an attempt to course correct their overall Star Wars roadmap, as well as the MCU, the Marvel Cinematic Universe, to kind of fine-tune those roadmaps by either canceling and greenlighting new projects. This is Mike Zero. Subscribe if you're new and like this video to see future updates. I'm also on Twitter at Mike01. I thank you all so very much for the great and kind support. And let's get right into the subject, shall we? Now, one thing about everything related to Indiana Jones 5 right now is that we have main people like Steven Spielberg, Harrison Ford, Phoebe Waller-Bridge, and James Mangold really talking about this film a lot. Surprisingly, Mads Mikkelsen has been very much silent. I mean, I haven't heard a peep from this guy. But we've had people like Spielberg and Ford really putting out a lot of, these revealing things about Indiana Jones 5, things that happen behind closed doors, or things that they do expect to see in the future. And that has a lot to do with how they are still developing Indy 5 sequels to this day. That's basically what Kathleen Kennedy is still conversing with over at Disney. Now, on top of this, what's really intriguing is that with executive producer Steven Spielberg, as one of the actual guys that are heavily promoting Indy 5, even during these days in which it has remained stagnant at the box office, he eventually got on the subject of the box office collapse by delivering the following to the fans. Well, look, I could be lying if I would say that we did not notice those numbers, and I know Kathy went through a similar thing with her Han Solo movie, so look, we only went into this film knowing we had to do our best, but I think the source of the problem as to why we are dealing with a far lower expected box office is that it has nothing to do with the story or the creative decisions. We knew that spoilers got leaked out some weeks ago before the film's release, and we do believe that played a very big factor into why not many fans showed up throughout the past couple of weeks. We still expect to do very well and recuperate over the next few weeks, however, it will be a delayed response for sure. But between the spoilers getting out and perhaps not having the correct marketing strategy, those were absolutely the factors into why you are witnessing lower than expected returns for a massive film like Indiana Jones. Now, let me just stop here for a sec. Now, the thing about Spielberg and Kathleen Kennedy is that they really don't know what they're talking about, basically. We all know the main reasoning as to why Indy 5 and its box office results have been extremely low and just not performing very well. And it has a lot to do with the story and the character Helena Shaw, portrayed by Phoebe Waller-Bridge. I mean, those really are the actual real reasons, It has nothing to do with marketing. It has nothing to do with anything related to the spoilers that got out, because that's only going to be exposed to a fraction of the audience, right? So when you look at it in that sense, basically Spielberg, what he is doing here is that he is pulling the blame game on the fans, basically getting exposed to spoilers, and that's why they didn't want to go ahead and see this movie. And though maybe that's partially true to an extent, but he's saying that it has nothing to do with the creative aspects or the story. The truth of the matter is the spoilers did contain a lot of those story decisions that a lot of fans did not like. So when you think about it like this, right? Basically what he's saying is that this movie is not doing well at the box office only because of the marketing and their strategy not performing very well, and the spoilers. He's not putting blame on Mangold, he's not putting blame on Bob Iger, or any of the story-related decisions in this movie that he advised, by the way, as an executive producer. It just makes absolutely no sense, and it goes to show you how out of touch with reality people like Spielberg really are. I feel like Spielberg, it's really hard to say this, but when you look at him as a creator, as a director, He really is much like a has-been. I feel like that years ago he was more prominent than how he is today. And we know that he was affiliated with the Halo TV series to an extent. That was a massive failure. This film is a massive failure as well. So the box office turnout, like I said a couple hours ago, we updated this. It's sitting around 171 million worldwide, and it's not really moving at all. That's bad, given that you have Mission Impossible debuting in about 2 days. That spells a recipe of disaster. So, anyways, on to the next, alright? He goes on to elaborate further. It has nothing to do with what people are claiming, like if it's a film that created division. I don't think that is in the least. It's a masterpiece. James Mangold really went all in and knew how to create an indie film, and I firmly believe that we did a better job than how we did with Crystal Skull and The Last Crusade. So I will say this, again, it's not the story, but more so business decisions that most certainly impacted the box office for this film. We still are aiming for a return, however, once it's all said and done, and yes, we are discussing sequels. Kathy is still talking about that right now at Lucasfilm, and I have been involved in those conversations. If it's a movie or a show, I have no idea, but we still see that as a major development moving through. Now, here's the other problem, is that, like I said before, he's blaming the overall spoilers, he's blaming the marketing, but really the main source as to why this is a box office flop is that Kathleen Kennedy got $300 million for this movie. She got a lot of money to make this movie, to hand it over to James Mangold and say, alright, do your thing, direct this, write this, make a movie that's going to make it worth your while, and, well, it turned out to be the complete opposite. This movie does not look like it's a $300 million film. And now, if you guys have known anything about Tom Cruise, he is killing it with the Mission Impossible 7 marketing strategy. He's really, a guy that knows how to have his films marketed. And Skydance and Paramount have done an amazing job with that. So, we know that Steven Spielberg is a guy that really just... It seems like some days he's with Kathleen Kennedy and other days he's not, so it's really hard to say which side he's really on. Particularly, I think that he's not on anybody's side, he kind of just goes with the flow. We all know that he kind of embarrassed her on stage weeks ago, you guys may recall that. But stuff like that just goes to show you that he bounces back and forth. Similar to how Mark Hamill was when he was defending The Last Jedi and then he was not defending The Last Jedi, stuff like that. All a back and forth scenario, a flip-flopper, if you will, right? So, yeah, Spielberg, I feel like, given that he's only executive producer, and yes, I know he advised this movie, the least he could have done was maybe say, alright, listen, Kathleen Kennedy, step aside, don't have much creative field in this movie, don't allow Phoebe Waller-Bridge to contribute to the story, and, that'll be that. Because we know, by the way, guys, that Phoebe did contribute to the story. She's the one that wanted Helena Shaw to really be a shining light in this film. So overall, guys, drop a comment below. Fill me in below in the comments what you all have to say about this. And if you guys did enjoy the content for today, make sure to drop a thumbs up on this video to support the channel. And I will catch you guys next time.